Give me some stuff that you did like, Ambassador.
Cool. Yeah, I can do that.
Captain's Pod, Stardate 707423.1. Welcome aboard the Starship Enterprise, and thank you for joining us as we take a brief shore leave from the world of CinemaSins to explore the universe of Star Trek. I'm your Captain Ian Whittington, and with me as always, there's no bloody A, B, C, but there is a D. It's Ambassador Deneé.
A, B, C. Yeah, then I'm D.
Yeah, computer, please turn that off. What was that? That was so weird. Just started piping the Jackson 5 onto the bridge.
Yeah, it sounded just like it too. It definitely wasn't ear piercing.
Yeah, well done for the perfect rendition, computer, but please stop. How are you this week?
I'm super duper duper.
You sound it.
Raising a child is a lot.
It is. You should get the computer to do that. You should just send them off to the nursery. No. Yeah, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. You just get them on an iPad and they do most of that work. There
was a brief moment this week where I thought that she was ready to kind of like go into her own room at night and sort of like level up to being comfortable with staying in her own space.
Yeah.
Like it felt like it was happening, and then it didn't happen, and part of me was like, oh man, and then part of me was like, yay, because I love snuggling with her, and she wakes up in the morning and she rolls over and she smiles at me, and I'm like, hi, Yes, sure, I have woken up multiple times in recent history with her naked butt in my face.
Yeah, that happens.
And then I roll over to escape that, only to also have a naked hairy butt on my other face because my other dogs.
Oh, the dog, right, yep.
Yeah, and it's just... And then if I decide to just rotate another dog, so I feel very loved and also very claustrophobic.
Very violated.
It's just a lot of conflicting emotion.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Speaking of conflicted emotions, we have had a rough go of it. That was a good segue. That was pretty good segue into our feelings about Picard. Conflicted feelings.
Yeah. Oh, is that what we're doing? Because it felt more like, hey, Deneé, how are you doing? Anyway, Picard. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yes, speaking of conflicted feelings, the last couple weeks, and I think from what I'm seeing on some kind of circles, is a kind of an agreement that we're maybe stretching some story elements, but still having a good time with the TNG-ness of it all. But we're a little bit thin on the ground of the story in terms of reveals and get on with it, and why are we still asking the same questions? This week's episode is called Surrender. Predictions for what is gonna happen. I kind of like these punchy one-word titles as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. Except for that we spend time wondering what's going to happen, and then we're rarely correct.
Completely off base, yeah, totally
Which is
wrong.
maybe just part of the fun of the show.
Yes.
So surrender could be many, many things. It could be sort of surrendering to who you are. So maybe Jack surrenders to the truth about who he is.
That's
it could
deep.
be that the bad guys have to surrender because Worf and Rafi return and are killing people, which I'm assuming is going to happen this episode.
Oh, it has to, doesn't it?
It has to, right? Okay.
They're going to swoop in and save the day.
Yeah. We can't go an entire episode, right?
Right? Please?
It could be surrendering the bad guys or telling the good guys to surrender, and Starfleet can't make it out of this one, which would be crazy. It can't be that. It can't be. This series is not going to land on Starfleet being evil and run over. It's just not. They're
someone will swoop in to save the day.
Too much.
Yeah. Janeway will swoop in with a fleet and be a badass.
Why do you keep talking about Janeway? Do you know something I don't?
Because they keep talking about Janeway.
The characters?
The characters keep
or
mentioning
the Twitter.
the Twitter. Both. But and I said last week that Janeway probably isn't going to be in it because she's exclusive to Prodigy at the minute, but I can still see that being a red herring and her turning up. For me, I surrender. Yeah. I mean, the crew at the minute have had to surrender to Vadic. Worf doesn't do surrender, even pacifist Worf. So he's not going to be surrendering. So he could be, like you said, angling at Vadic to surrender. Starfleet want, or an element of Starfleet, because there is still some good Starfleet left. So there's going to be some kind of face-off between good Starfleet and bad Starfleet. I think everybody is going to be commanding everybody to surrender, and nobody wants to. We're going to have like a deep space standoff.
Oh, great. So we're going to be going
Stay
into
awake.
a standoff episode.
No. We've got it's episode 8. We've got 3 episodes left. We've got to get some revelations coming in. I think we're going to find out who Vadic's boss is, who the big bad is. I think we're going to end kind of right on the cusp of Frontier Day, and the finale is going to be like kind of knee deep diving into that.
I think we're gonna find out who Jack is and why it's relevant to what people want him, and that might reveal who those bads are, like you're saying. And then we may have a better understanding of the plans, but it'll probably be exposited to them from the bad guys thinking that they've already won.
as
Because there's
always.
no reason for
Instead
us
of
to
finishing
know
the
the
job.
fullness unless they think that they've already won. So
Vadic should kill everyone other than Picard and Jack. That's the only two people that she needs.
My prediction will certainly be that we're going to end this episode thinking that, like, where the characters are thinking everything is lost and then something is going to happen. So maybe Worf and Rafi don't show up this episode.
No, they have to.
We don't know until we watch.
Because there could be Riker surrendering as well, because Deanna is in trouble and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It could be
we haven't seen them again since Riker was captured. You know, I'm ready to get into it. And I want to say that I am enjoying the series.
Yes.
It's always difficult for me to do these kinds of shows because sometimes I get really like poo-pooey about what I watch. It's not just Star Trek stuff. It's everything.
Yeah.
So there's a moment when it's like, okay, I'm ready to get to the end now. And I'm in that like uncomfortable space, but I still like what I'm watching. And I hope that this time I can remember how incredible it is to see all of these people on screen together.
For sure. No, totally.
It's
but the problem is
something
we
that
don't get that. We're not getting enough of that. So you're perfectly fine. We're also not to brag on ourselves, but just as an observation, we're one of the few shows I know of that within minutes of watching the episode go straight in to talk about it. We don't collect our thoughts, collect our notes. We watch the episode.
Maybe that's why we're flailing
maybe
so
that's
terribly.
why we're shit. But we dive straight in with raw emotion. So I think I hope we get a bit of wiggle room for being raw and
like we're
in the
not getting
moment.
negative feedback from people, are we? Like,
No,
are there
not at
emails
all.
I don't know about?
No,
Are we
not at
talking to
all.
our critics that aren't even talking to us? What are we
Yes.
doing right now?
We're being our own worst critics. No, I
That's
just don't
very
like being
normal.
negative about Star Trek because a lot of people are negative for the wrong reasons. And yes, I am the last bastion of what is correct negative and bad negative. So with that, let's head to 10 Forward to watch the episode. We'll meet y'all. Not doing that again. We'll meet you all in 10 Forward.
You okay?
2 to beam out. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched. Most important question first, what is your beverage of choice?
Well, you would think that I would be prepared for this. I think I want to have tea that's been steeped in the roots of whatever is happening in Jack's mind.
All of the veins and the vines. It looks like tea leaves. Like it could be at the end of those
Well, they're
vines.
very root-y, you
Yeah.
know, and you can have root
It's going to
tea.
be a very earthy tea, I think, with a hint
Yeah.
of deception.
I think after it steeps, there's going to be like a thin layer of goo on the top potentially.
Little film.
Little film there, yeah. Kind of like a SCOBY. I feel like it's going to be very SCOBY. So
Okay.
this tea is, going to be like one of those health food teas where we don't like the actual taste of it, but we tell ourselves we like the taste to distract the fact that we're just drinking live culture. Yeah.
And if we're really lucky, it's steeped long enough that it's like the show, and we're kind of done with it.
Oh no.
I would like some chocolate. I would like some Earl Grey chocolate dipped in chili, as provided to us by our one of our lovely fans, Link, who handed me some chilies, and JCD, who handed me some chocolate, and they were yummy. They were interesting. Stay around for the outtakes for how I consumed those. But yes, Ambassador, synopsisize us.
Oh, I can't do that this week because
Why?
well, Zinc in the chat broke our format, so
And
it's
gave
your
you a
turn to
heads up.
synopsisize.
So we lost
yeah.
the surprise. Okay,
Yeah.
so I will take the synopsis this week. Damn it, live chat. This is why you don't do a live show. This week, there is a standoff between the Titan crew and Vadik and her changeling people. Yeah, will they, won't they go to the bridge, is the summary of that episode. And towards the end, Worf turns up and helps to save the day, along with Data, who also helps to save the day by being nice, which is something we actually love about Data. And some mysteries are still not revealed. Ambassador, overall thoughts and feelings. Tell me I'm wrong with that synopsis. How did you like this week's episode? And I'm going to say, in comparison to episodes 6 and 7, because 6, 7, and 8, just like previous seasons, have very much felt like one episode that could have been done in an hour. So what's your overall feelings?
Well, I think you're right. I found myself multiple times during this episode thinking, we already know this. Especially kind of towards the middle with like the Data lore kind of stuff. It's like, we already know this. The buildup has already been building up. This has been explained in the previous episode, the episode previous to that, and in the previously awnings of those episodes. We are not dumb. Stop telling us what we already know.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed with that. Stop hanging a lantern
on things as well. Like, they even know what they know what they're doing. They're like, yeah, you keep monologuing. Yeah, we know.
Yeah. This was hard. I think, like I said last episode, and I meant it, even though I had a week between Vadik's monologuing to kind of have a break, when she started monologuing and you know, again, she's wonderful. I love how she's acting this character. Incredible. This is not about how it's being portrayed. This is about the amount of time that it's taking to portray what they're doing. I was like, okay, no, we're going back in. We're giving Vadik more time. That's fine. But every time she had more time, I was getting more and more angry. And I was bummed because I thought maybe it had been enough time since last episode that I would be a little calmer about it. But it turns out that I was right about my instincts last week. Yeah. And I really did not need more Vadik this week. Although in this episode, she is taking over the ship. And so this episode largely, the fullness of it, well, not the fullness of it, largely takes part on the Titan, which she has taken over. But they stretched a lot out in this episode. We still didn't learn anything about Jack the entire episode.
Yeah, Vadik isn't dealt with
almost the entire episode. Data lore isn't dealt with almost the entire episode. So it was just, it was paper thin for me with, like, sometimes there's candy that's like really, really thin candy. And you're like, oh, there's not a lot of it there. Maybe it's going to taste good. And technically there's like a hint of it. And the hint of it is nostalgia. I don't know how someone without any TNG experience would have enjoyed today's episode.
They won't. And I don't think I don't think they're supposed to either, to be completely honest.
Because the real big thrill of this, right, was the moment when our beloved TNG crew is around the table again.
Yeah.
But even that scene, when you're putting it in the moment going, we're still in bad shape, guys. Like, why are we stopping to have a conversation right now? That still felt like a little out of place for me. So it just, I hate to say it, but this is the third episode in a row. And I'm like, okay, it didn't do exactly what I wanted to feel, but it's still something that I'm enjoying because I love TNG.
Kind of did everything we asked for, but in a really messy way. Yeah, my overall thoughts are that the pacing is just way, way, way off. This is all in the pacing and the delivery of information. There are some incredible moments in this episode that are exactly what I've wanted to see when Picard was first announced. Like, this is the stuff that I miss and that I want to see on screen. My biggest review overall is that 6, 7, and 8 didn't need to exist. We could have had, I think, all three condensed into one, because all these ones have been like 50 minutes. If we'd have had 1 hour-long episode or hour and 10-minute episode that covered all of what happens in these 3 episodes, I think we would have been a lot better off. And I think we'd be in a bit of a better place. But it does feel like we had to stretch this piece of spaghetti. Lots of food metaphors, as usual. Really thin.
We do this show right when we're supposed to have lunch.
Hungry. Yeah,
but
all the time.
We're always starving.
Yeah, we connect at 11 It is currently 1 p.m. and we still have about an hour and a half to go, and then
and
find
we
lunch.
never eat. It's a very where we really should fix. We should eat while we should change. You know what? It's fine. We'll get to that a little bit.
I've started eating during the show. I still have that chocolate. Yeah. So it's hard because there are moments I love in this episode. I am really happy with how they handled a few things. I'd be even happier if they didn't shit on season 1 continually, but I keep talking about that, and I'm sure I'll mention it again. But yeah, it's the first 30 to 40 minutes of this episode is a slog of the hostage situation thing that we've seen before, and then 15 to 20 minutes of sprinting through some really, really, really cool stuff that just feels a little bit out of place, and it's
what did you think was really, really
so
cool?
jarring. I'm a sucker. Worf turning up, Data and Geordi talking to each other, conference room table. And it's that sprint at the end that I really like. But you're right. It feels really out of place with the first half of this episode, which is so slowed down. Like, even if this episode was 30 minutes long, I think that would be better. It's that thing of just make the episode as long as it needs to be. Don't feel like you're tied to having to have 10-hour-long episodes. You don't have to. The Last of Us is great at this. When the story needs it, it's an hour and 15 minutes long. When it doesn't, you had like a 35, 40-minute episode because that's what the story needed. But we are going to talk about some positives before we get knee-deep into the sinning of it all. Give me some stuff that you did like, Ambassador.
Cool. Yeah, I can do that.
You can do it. You can do it.
I mean, I definitely loved seeing Spot.
Right?
Like,
they doubled that cat pretty well.
Spot saved the freaking ship. I really loved that moment. And I thought that the way that they had Data take over Lore was clever. So the idea was that Data is made up of a bunch of memories. And so the things that Data is seeing in their brain space and the conversations that's happening inside this golem between Data and Lore. So Data is like essentially looking around in this empty space, and apparating in front of him are these memories. And that is what Data has built himself up on, since he doesn't feel anything. He's built on memories. And Lore is taunting him from the other side of the barrier because he just thinks it's stupid, and we're being reminded that, Data has been loved and cared for, and Lore has had a hard life, essentially. Yeah. And that Lore is stronger in a lot of ways, and Data kind of knew that. So he realizes that Lore is going to win, and so he's going to see all of these memories of Data as trophies to take. And so Data begins to give himself to Lore, and essentially they merge because he's taking his memories without Lore realizing kind of what he's doing. So we have this like fake out moment where Lore takes over, and then Data is able to come back, and then they kind of have this goodbye. And I thought that was really beautifully, it was a really beautiful visual, I feel, of how Data would outsmart Lore, and maybe even not see it as him taking a life, because Geordi was very specific that his protocols wouldn't let him take a life, but it was more that they both have the same life, and then there's a dominant personality. So it was more of an absorption of Lore rather than a murdering of Lore. And I think that was also sort of implied in that moment, but we got to see his important memories, his poker cards. We got to see, what's her name? Tasha.
Yeah.
We got to see her memory chip, of course, Spot.
Little hologram.
And I thought that was a really kind of sweet sort of reminder of it. And part of it feels a little forced, of course, like
because it happened in 5-6 minutes of footage. That would have been an episode of TNG. So it's going to be hard to feel earned. But no, I agree. It maybe got a little bit saccharine, sweet and cheesy by the end with the "I love you, brother," and "I am now you, we are each other." But yes, it is. But also a bit of cheese is okay. A bit of sweetness is sometimes needed. But I do love the cleverness of "I will give you my memories because that's what I am," and not overly villainizing Lore, because there is an element of environment. Like, Lore had a rough go of it. He was created with flaws, and then was turned off and rejected, and then accidentally turned back on, and then rejected again and not repaired. And yeah, there is some of him jumping the gun before anybody had a chance to help him, but he hasn't been loved like Data has. He hasn't been adored like that. And it's a way of thinking about lore that I'd never thought about. So for the show to give me a new way of looking at this relationship that I've known for 30 years is beautiful. That's a cool trick to pull off. So while there was an element of cheese to it, I really enjoyed the Data lore interaction absorption.
I didn't want to in a way because it was a bit cheese, but at the same time, I was like, I kind of like how they did this because they were going to have to combine them. That was so telegraphed. That's the part I didn't like about it, is how telegraphed it all is, because we see it on the Previously Ons and we hear it again in the conversations. Like we know, they're really talking about how lore is going to, like that wall between them. And then if Data's gone, he's gone forever. And I think it's meant to build up this tension, but the hard part for me is that there's all this other tension happening in this episode with people being murdered and hunted and
big swings, big emotional
just almost
swings.
Like, yeah, but it's so much heaviness that I almost couldn't give that moment the heaviness that it needed for those characters, which is why I think what you're saying about a standalone episode or something more focused I think it could have helped it feel less forced, because it was forced. We did want to have these moments between LaForge and Picard and Beverly and Troy and Riker and Worf seeing Data like that.
Of course we want
needed to have some gravity. But when it's also kind of puzzle pieced in with the other stuff, I did feel like it was a little bit lost, because to me it seems like the greater issues are like, okay, we'll come back to this lovely moment in a minute, but can we talk about what's going on over here? You know, like, so if you don't show me that danger, then maybe I can focus on the seriousness of what's happening.
This isn't what the episode is about. The season isn't about Data's story. The episode isn't about Data rescuing Lore, other than being an ex machina. So it is, you're right, it's hard to give it that weight when that's not the story we're zoned in on at the minute. I am so intrigued and wanting to know what the villain's plan is, who the villain is, and why they want Jack, that you're right, we're distracted and hard to focus on this freaking powerful moment between Data and Lore, and between Data and Geordi. Like, I love that moment, but I'm like, I don't want to rush through this, but can we get through this?
Yeah, and that's what it felt like. And I didn't like feeling that we needed to rush through this moment. And also, again, is the person that's watching this season kind of going, wait, what are we referencing here? And is anyone watching Picard who doesn't have TNG experience? Like, this is for the TNG fans.
It is, and I think because we're not having a season 4, I don't know that we're really looking at a spin-off either. I think they've unapologetically made this for the fans, and I haven't really held that against them, but I would love them to make it feel a bit more organic. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but I'm not too worried about this not appealing to non-TNG fans, because I think you kind of need to know what you're getting into. Yeah. But even for me as a TNG fan, this still feels clumsy.
It like you said, it kind of happened in a way. Data lore could have happened last episode, paired with Vadic sort of taking over the ship, maybe, and then this one would be Data and everybody taking over. Because when Data takes the ship back over, it's fast. It's like we are
immediate
careening to the end of this episode.
Yeah. Let's jettison this part of the plot,
and we'll jettison everybody. We're just jettisoning. Speaking of jettisoning, that's another thing that I liked about this episode. What did you think whenever? Did you like that part?
Do it. Yeah, I love that. Fucking solids. Get off my bridge. And like, it's such a gimme, but it was so fun. Seven just losing it. It was clever that the orb of death was actually an orb of protection, which was really, really cool. I love that. And of course, Seven just let them have it. Fire on the Shrike. It happened in less than 4 seconds, but I loved that sequence of events. Yeah.
I did too. When I saw okay, we're going to open up the bays of this fucking bridge to go out to space, my note was, I bet Ian is loving this, because it kind of like shows the ship coming apart a little bit, and then you've got this like vacuum of space situation happening, and then you've got Vadic sort of like,
great aim, by the way, aiming her at the Shrike.
I guess that was interesting. It was unfortunate, but it was also kind of interesting to watch. So then you got Vadic, all like broken apart and such.
Yeah, T1000ing.
But it's still interesting because you're seeing like these different angles of the ship, right? Like the CGI had to be created for us to see her break apart on the ship.
Yeah.
And I thought she was going to go into that engine thingy or whatever.
Oh,
but
right into the
nope.
deflector dish. Yeah, I thought so as well.
Is it a deflector dish? I forget.
It looks like it. I'm assuming so.
The bottom part.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it. The orb, the circular orb thing. Because it always reminds me of the Enterprise D deflector, the kind of squashed oval thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just
so that was another thing I liked. I liked that. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know how everybody knew the plan, but you know what? Okay. And we'll get to that later. But yeah.
I mean, I guess 7 shouldn't have
done. They talked about it.
But
they talked about it.
I just that it did kill me. The get off my bridge is hilarious when you know that person like is literally getting off the bridge in the most violent way possible. I did enjoy that. There was a little shot that I really, really liked. The opening of the episode where you open on space, and I thought Deneé's gonna love this. Yeah,
I wrote it down.
Absolutely, because it's beautiful. It's really well thought out. The lighter, which it makes you think it's in space, but it's a reflection. They should get some anti-glare on that window, but obviously they haven't. And it was a great shot. Really loved it. Nice. I always love how we open the episodes.
Yeah, and I've noticed that we open up on that like the or like those little sounds. They're really they're really often right at the start of the episode to kind of like just drag you in,
just to give you a hit of endorphins to begin with.
But
before
there's
the slog.
We're backing through this window and it kind of warbles as if we've gone through their shields or something.
Yeah,
and I thought that was really cool.
So I think it's your turn to pick one actually.
Let's see. Some other things that I enjoyed. I mean, Worf, his banter was the lift in humor that I needed.
I just needed it sooner. I needed Worf sooner.
Oh yeah,
I think that would have solved
needed
a lot
sooner. On that one. It's such a heavy episode. I mean, people are fucking straight up murdered in this episode. But I love when Worf saves Deanna and Riker and starts to like just express his adoration of Deanna.
Yes,
in the way that Worf does. It is so poetic and deep, and it shows a side of Worf we haven't seen like maybe he was this, he just expresses himself. He's like, I have counted the days like ocean waves. Like he goes into this super poetic thing, and then it's like it's juxtaposed with this humor moment where Riker is like, are we being rescued or am I still being tortured here? Because he's listening to, and Deanna's loving it. It's just like, shut up, I want to hear this. Like, who wouldn't want to hear the return of their friend and how that person has missed her for very specific reasons that impacted his life. And it's just such a short moment, but it's filled with humor. And then he also has this hilarious moment at the round table when he's like, I've murdered a lot of people since last I saw you, and I've thought about sending you all their heads, but I was told that would be passive aggressive. And I just like, it's just, we need Worf. We need Worf in this episode.
Lines. He's the comic relief.
Was a delight. I loved that.
He really is. Yeah, I love that. I think that's I hadn't thought about this, but if we'd have had that break in Vadic's monologuing and back and forthing between will we kill the prisoners or to get Jack to the bridge, if we'd have had the momentum of Worf and Riker and Deanna on the ship escaping and working things, just to build that momentum a little bit so we know something else is happening. I think you could fix a little bit of that episode. Yeah,
so we oftentimes think, oh, we've done it better. Like, listen, it's hard. Doing these things is not. It is a huge, massive undertaking.
It's easy for us to sit here and criticize it.
Yeah, we're watching the story that the writers and the director want to tell. And this is clearly a story designed around the bad guys and needing to give them time. Like, I thought that Vadic was getting a lot of screen time for some sort of redemption arc. But no. Like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe
literally just, and doesn't even serve to give Jack any deeper information about who he is. Like, they just wanted to give this character basically 2 full episodes of dialogue, and that's okay. That's their choice. That's what they can do. But when I look at how I think about, like, maybe I would have chewed this up better, like you said, is if at the beginning Riker and Deanna have their moment, like, start off the episode with Riker and Deanna having their conversation where we get to learn more, by the way, about it wasn't just Riker walking away because he was emotionless. Deanna
did some sketchy
went
shit
into
too.
his brain to try to change shit. And he's like, hey, I got to have my grief. And so this is like more information about their interpersonal drama that I was there for. I liked it. But if we had started off with them and Worf coming to save the day and Rafi coming to save the day and them finding more out about Picard and then them taking over that ship and maybe like just some juxtaposition, like, but they can't communicate with the ship until Data takes over.
Yeah.
So there's still that tension building of like, when can Riker and Deanna and all of them like come on board? I don't know. There's something that could have been a little bit more for me of a lift in the mood, I suppose.
Yeah, but on the Riker Deanna thing, the positive I'll say is that there were some interesting themes being explored. Like there is this sudden, man, stop immediately going into negatives. It is sudden because like the story about Deanna dipping into Riker's subconscious and suppressing his grief to help him move on is just gone, blipped past so quick. They hug and make up. We don't get any time to kind of take that in and sit in that part of the story, which I have more context for, something I know about, way more context than anything Vadik is saying.
Yeah.
But I do like the themes that they're exploring, which is they went to Nepenthe for their son, and leaving it is a bit of letting go, and this much explored theme of moving on and how do we move on, and is leaving the planet disrespecting Thad's memory, and are they ready to move on and re-enter the I was going to say the human race, the galaxy race, the civilization is probably a better word for it.
Yeah.
And I love those themes. I wish we'd spent more time doing that and exploring those two and what their marriage has been like and what they've suffered with. And this is a great time for them to do it. But I was convinced that would be more of a hinging point in this season. But it's not. It's brushed by really fast. But in the positive side of it, I did like that exploration. I like that we got them together and hashing some of this out. Just wish we'd seen a bit.
I think we needed, I honestly, I like that they gave Deanna a part in it because it kind of felt like it was them blaming Riker for just walking away or whatever, but Riker had his reasons. And I think that was kind of nice to learn.
Which is the stereotypical man thing of moving on and bury your feelings. So it's an interesting spin on it that Deanna was the one burying Riker's feelings for many
him.
Reasons. Yeah, for him and probably for her because that's all she could sense from him as well was his grief. So she's doing
and her own
double
and everyone
duty.
else's.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
that's clever because that's how Betazoids deal with grief. Is we talk about us as people taking on other people's trauma and other people's emotions. Imagine when there is a physical element attached to that where you are literally flooded with those emotions. That's interesting. That's fascinating to me.
Another thing I liked was obviously seeing everybody around the table. That was
my next
how
note
am I not going to like that?
Of course.
And that's like an easy one, but it leads to the conclusion that Deanna's like, it's time for me to meet your son. And then we have this really interesting scene of Deanna attempting to help Jack to sort of open up and share. And Deanna is sort of like with him. And all of a sudden, side by side in his vision, Deanna is there. And it's her hand that goes to the door. I think that was her hand, right? That wasn't his hand.
I can't remember, but
I think it was her hand.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about this, so I'll just say this. If it is her hand, I think it's an interesting choice because she's saying we need to open the door and he's like, I don't wanna.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're in his mind, and rather than her like letting him get there, she is going to force him to open this door by doing it herself, which is what she was doing to Will.
Yeah, really interesting.
So it's kind of like this Deanna version that's not really timid and maybe not following some of the council rules, but more like in the interest of time, we're going to force this. And I wonder if it's intentional or if it's just unintentional, but I thought that it was a really interesting visual.
I think so as well. And the door is now more clearly a metaphor for what is locked away. Either this creature being persona that is buried inside of Jack, some programming that's buried. The red door is a metaphor and the vines are trying to break out of it. So that's a lot clearer in this episode. Maybe not original, but it's not even original inside of TNG, but at least we kind of know a little bit more about it. But yeah, it is interesting that Deanna is being used in this way.
Yeah, it's nice to see her powers enter the ship and enter into something that's relevant. It's not like she senses the darkness, and she can kind of give gravity in a way that no one really has been able to give gravity, because even, Beverly and Picard have a hard time understanding Jack when he's saying he sees dead people. I mean, that he
I can see dead people.
Yeah.
I do like that she kind of specified that it's not that Jack is the darkness, it's just around him and he's dealing with it. So Jack
that
isn't...
specificity was nice.
Yeah, I really, really liked that. They didn't hang it on, we're going to have to kill Jack because he's evil. Deanna's like, no, it's not his fault, but there's something in there that we need to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the voice is kind of taking him over. So that might give us a little bit of a clue to get to the next episodes. But I'm just, at this point, I'm watching it going, I'm just watching this to watch it. I don't care what they do anymore.
It's hard,
which
isn't
is
it?
bad. It's so bad.
You leave me on the hook for so long. I start unhooking myself and wandering off to do something else. I have an overall thought about that I'll save for later. I want to quickly just talk in general how you felt about the villain standoff and the lineup of seen it so many times now. The lineup of the hostages. And I'll shoot one, here's the countdown timer, and Jack has to decide and Picard has to decide what they're going to do, and the Tavine of it all as well. How did that hit you? How did that sequence make you feel?
This is hard because let me just say right now, this is so fucked up to say, but I love how Tavine was killed because it was unexpected, right? Like,
right.
There's all this buildup happening, and then Vadic is like pink, and like goes into the psychological warfare of somebody thinking they're going to, die, and then they don't die, and then like a guy who's like, I have a son, and is talking about all this emotion, and then Vadic is just like, oh nope, we're gonna kill Tavine.
Yeah.
So like that sucked. I mean, I don't want Tavine to die.
That's okay. You can tell it. We'll get her on the show.
No. I didn't want to die. I just thought it was an interesting way to have her die because she just instantly is gone. There's no moment to process it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And I thought that showed villainy in an interesting way. However, the scene in and of itself was very hard for me to watch because the tension that they're attempting to build, I was just like, really? Because it's like, we're going to do a countdown, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. And it's Vadic just monologuing the entire time. And we spent the entire last episode with her monologuing. And it's like, I am not where I should be, where I'm on the edge of my seat. I am not on the edge of my seat. I am waiting for something else to happen. And so it just felt like eating up the time instead of me understanding. Because we're seeing Vadic's plan here. And Riker even says like, oh, but Picard has him up against the wall. Picard doesn't seem to have anybody against any walls, and our crew, our heroes, our stuff, our people, whatever plan we have is the surprise. Like, we don't know what they're doing until all of a sudden it's done in 10 seconds. And we don't have time to process and go like, wow, they really cleverly put that. This episode isn't our crew taking back the ship. This episode is us watching Vadic do what Vadic does. And then quite suddenly the ship is ours again with our heroes. Yeah. But we did not have a part in understanding how we got there. And that's what I'm missing that I love. And I might be the only person that does. And so this is a me thing, not a everybody thing. I'm not speaking for the entire world of people watching Picard and liking it the way that it's delivered. It's just, to me, it was like, yeah, I get it. She's bad. Yeah, I get it. She likes torturing the ship. She's been talking about this since the first time she's like, just give me Jack because I'm going to slowly pick you apart piece by piece, which she does in that way. But it's like, it's hard to be like, just kill everybody and be done with it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I was at.
For me,
Sorry.
don't apologize. For me, it's the weakest part of the episode because, and maybe I just watch too much content, but we have seen this so many times. And the spin on Tavine where we differ, I think, is that didn't work for me so much. Again, because I've seen it so many times. We've seen it inside of Star Trek. They do it in Star Trek 3 where you think someone's going to die. They suddenly turn and they shoot another hostage. And for me, it is just the hostage situations in general are exhausting for me because you've got to find a way to make them interesting. And it tends to be interesting. Even the unexpected becomes expected and becomes predictable. It's like one of these are going to die. It's going to be somebody that's had enough time on screen to talk to. It's not going to probably... I thought that the fish lady, the green head, was going to die, but Tavine was... they were all the same character to me. We did get a little bit from each of them, but we had the same amount of character from each of them, so that they're all kind of interchangeable. And it just felt a bit cheap to me. It felt like we would benefit much more from keeping Tavine around and using her in content later than any impact I get from her dying now. I don't feel that impact. I haven't been with her enough. I think she's cool, but not enough to hit me with any kind of oomph. And it's just exhausting. The back and forth between Jack and between Vatic and everyone. Just get to the bridge. I'm going to shoot somebody. This is all your fault. You can prevent this. This is what I'm going to do. It's a lot. It went on too long. We've seen it before.
It went on way too long.
Yeah, we're milking it a bit.
I mean, how much more impactful would it have been if she said 10 minutes and within the first 1 minute of seeing Vatic on that ship? So we have whatever starts to show off, whether it's this or that. Like if she actually straight up just kills somebody in the first minute, it's like, whoa, stakes are high. But this is monologue, build up. Then we cut back over, we're cutting around, come back, and we're still doing the countdown. And then it's like, oh, I guess we got to get serious now. It's like, when are we not serious?
For me, I'm just like, shoot one of them, 60 seconds. Shoot one of them, 60 seconds. Shoot one of them. Because the only reason she's doing the 10-minute thing is that so that we don't run out of crew members. There's no reason for Vatic to be so kind.
I feel like we've forgotten the fact that she did murder a whole bunch of people in the hallway and was like having it aired over the bridge as if it was music. So yes, she did murder a ton of people right away.
Correct. Yeah.
That is true. And that was fucked up and it was sad. So, but for some reason, that's not as impactful maybe as the bridge. I don't know. I don't know.
Because they're extras, Deneé. Because they're extras. And that's fine to say because that's how the show is framing it. They're unseen extras that we don't know about. These ones matter because they have lines. That's the element of TV you can't get past. Okay, I went negative there. I'm sorry.
Wait, that's okay. We're processing a lot. It's fine. It's fine. I did think that for a second it was going to be the guy because Jack did that takeover moment, which since we're still technically on the positives, that was pretty freaking cool. We're seeing Jack use his powers.
Yay!
He like goes out and does like first person shooter perspective down the hallway, and we're seeing dead people and stabbed people and messed up people, and then he gets his body takeover gets shot. And then whenever he does it again, he goes to the bridge and he happens to, I mean, it's probably simple, conveniently be in the guy that's right by the little console. And then we have this little console beep, beep, beep going on. That was pretty cool because I'm like, oh my God, it's going to work. But it does not work.
Nope, it does not work.
So.
It was never going to work, but I like the attempt. I kind of do want to talk about, we do get a little bit more of the villain's plan. And they specifically want the diseased part of Picard's brain.
Because there's powers involved somehow, right?
I don't know. I'm still
isn't that what
about
Jack
that.
has? Like, I think whatever's going on is some kind of an ability that they have. Oh my God, are they gonna? Is Picard? Oh, hold on. I gotta hold on a second. I gotta write down a prediction.
Yeah, let's save. You're right. Let's save that for predictions.
Anyhow, they want that part of the body for purposes, for reasons. And Jack's is active and alive, and Picard's is dead tissue.
Yeah.
But they still wanted to get the Golem body.
That's
so they
get
the Golem body. They were already hunting Jack at the time, though. So I don't know why they need to.
Both.
I don't fucking know. So yes, we know more of the villain's plan, but really we have no fucking clue.
You're right.
And also, like, Vatic was like all about like, hey, you've got to. Nope. Sorry, I'm sitting. I'm sitting
close.
Right now.
We're really close.
Look away.
Okay, I kind of respect, and this is hard because I respect it, but I don't like it. It's why it's so tricky. I respect that they're addressing exactly what they're doing. So they talk about the Data that wanted to die in season 1. And Picard says, I know that the Data I spoke to wanted to die and we let him go. And new Data is, I understand that. It's completely fine. He wanted to die. I want to live. It's fine for both things to happen. And that it's just like they're looking directly in the camera saying, it's okay. This is a different Data, but it's the real Data and it's the same enough. And you can still enjoy season 1 and enjoy this at the same time. I like that they know what they're doing. They know what they've done. They acknowledge it. And they're still saying that it's okay to like it. My battle is I still don't like it. It still feels dirty. It still feels wrong. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's fine. But I am glad that they addressed it and they didn't just ignore the Data that chose to die with Picard in Data's mind.
Part of Data's story is being used as a machine. That's just unavoidable at this point. Part of Data's story is that when his best friends and his captain could have let him die and just be done, they said, nope, because we need this guy to do the stuff. And that's just part of Data's story. And it doesn't feel right to me, but it's part of his story, and I can't do anything about that now.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that they decided to address it head on and just, like you said, face to camera. As somebody who has run Dungeons and Dragons campaigns in the past and killed off characters that I thought, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I need to figure out how to get this information to my team so that they can make better decisions. I know what it's like to write myself into a problem and then have to write myself out of that problem by doing creative things. I remember watching a campaign where the players killed off a character, and so that character was brought back as an undead character to give a little bit more exposition so that the party had information. It feels very much like that. Like, we killed off a character, we really need to come back. How can we make this make sense? And if they're going to have to do it, if that's what they really feel that they need to do to have that money shot of the OG team if that's what they want to do for whatever reasons, for nostalgia, for story purposes, for the future of the series of the franchise, whatever their decision making is, then I guess this is the best way to do it. And I can kind of see where I both respect it, and I also wish that they wouldn't have.
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because I would be sending the heck out of them if we didn't get the whole crew, minus Tasha, together. If we didn't have that moment in all 3 seasons of Picard, I would have been screaming and saying, what a missed opportunity. But I think the problem lies in season 1 doing what it did with the characters and not having enough of them together and losing Data. So I think I'm on board with what we're doing in season 3 here. It's sad that it is at the expense of an ending for Data that I kind of liked. But again, it is an answer to the criticism of season 1. It's so interesting to see a show internally self-correct like this. I can't think of another example where they haven't retconned, they've just acknowledged it and changed it. It's so interesting, and I don't know, that's something I will have to revisit and sit with a lot more.
It's on my positives is this new Data lore character.
I love it, and I think if we hadn't had Data at all in season 1, I would be loving this so much more.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun for me to consider the possibilities of what this, because it's not Data, it's Data lore or whatever we're going to call it. And there's a lot of options that were thrown up during the live chat that were hilarious, including just the word door. Was
door, which is my
really
favorite.
Fucking funny. So whatever this new character, this new person sort of it's Data with emotion and humor and perspective and a human body that can crack its neck and feel pain and age. And that is not something that Data would have had in season 1 of Picard. So there is a part of me that's like, so in season 1, they said that Data always wanted to be human, and so death is the most human thing you can do. And now they're saying, well, the most human thing you could do is to actually have a full personality and an ailing body. So we're going to give Data this because that wasn't possible in season 1, essentially. And so I kind of like the idea of the Data personality having a chance to play around in that universe of a human body and kind of have fun in that way. And kind of explore that with that childlike, curiosity. But Picard is probably not that show, though. We're not going to have Data having a chance to do that for the next 2 episodes because this show is going to focus on Frontier Day. Like, unless they do, if they spend the next couple of episodes giving Data some really fun scenes of exploring his human body, I will be super fucking happy about that. But if it's just a toss away thing, and if it's just something that's supposed to make me feel better as a fan of Data and wanting him to have a proper end, it's going to feel like a cheat a little bit.
What would be incredible is if they foil the Frontier Day before the opening and then we just have 2 standalone episodes of TNG.
Oh my god. That'd be so great. 2 standalone
adventures. It would be the most TNG thing that they could possibly do. They just use the Titan or they get an Enterprise, whatever, and they just have 2 episodes of adventures, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the season. That would be a huge swing. I would love it so much.
I would love it too. And that's the part that I do like about this Datalore character.
Datalore,
sorry. We don't know his name. He could change it to
we know
Data.
It's not Data.
Could be. So I think that's pretty much the end of my positives, which there are a lot more positives this episode than there were last episode.
Agreed. And there has to be. Like, there is a lot more. Okay, here's my big thought, because this is the good transition into Sins. This show has been super criticized for being all nostalgia and little story and no substance, and not much in there for people that don't like TNG. I'm struggling to see that as a criticism when, of course, that's what the show is. I think the show is strongest when it's leaning into the nostalgia and when it's doing the references. The weakest parts are the story. The weakest parts are when we aren't doing that and we're focusing on this new thing that I'm feeling a little bit bogged down by now that the initial shine has rubbed off. This show sings when it is pulling from TNG and when it is doing a glory lap and unapologetically doing that. It gets buried and weighted down when we have to focus too much on Vadik, the Shrike, and the what-ifness of Jack. That's my big overall summary that I can't imagine is going to change in the next 2 episodes. Maybe it will, but that's where I'm comfortably landing on this season.
Well, I think they're taking us, and a little bit of prediction, I guess. I think they're just taking us of Picard saving Starfleet, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and that he's going to deal with his crew. So I really hope these next couple episodes just lean into that TNG feeling. The overarching being hunted is essentially lifted, although the big bad is still out there somewhere. And maybe that is the looming character, the darkness that's being... But like once that clears up, are they going to give us enough time with these characters to just like really fucking have a good time with them?
I mean, in terms of like story momentum and having a 10 episode arc, it feels like a no, because that's not how these arcs work. It's usually rushed in the last 10 minutes, but I hope we're wrong. It's fascinating, and I can't wait. I am looking forward to watching this season again, but binging it 10 episodes back to back. These 10 episode arcs need to be binged. I'm sorry. So, with that, let's head over to engineering for the Sins. Battle stations, everyone.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
This is the part of the show where we re-engage our Sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV shows without Sin, even our beloved Star Trek. Go for it, Deneé. I have a full A4 page of Sins.
Oh, shit. Then why don't you start?
I'm just going to do it in order that they came up, not like in terms of weightedness. So, Geordie, love his soul. I was trying to avoid the word soul for some reason. Law can't control what he can't access. Duh! Wow! Really? Like, he just unplugs data law. And I was like, really? Like, come on, Geordie. Yeah? Then why did you plug him in, dipshit? It just seemed like such a wow. Uh-huh. Also, like, how is Bluetooth not better by this point?
I'm going to just say it. One of my biggest sins is that LaForge is wasted in these episodes.
He really is.
Wasted.
We have that one good chat.
Standing in a room with his daughter and his best friend. And he's just hanging out wasted. I maybe it's going to kick into a different gear for me, but I'm like looking at these people who have been in Starfleet for a long time. You know what? We got to take a second back though. All of this is happening within minutes. So him standing there feels like a long time for me, but in their reality, he hasn't been in that room for very long. It's just,
but
I don't know.
What? We're watching a TV show, Deneé. Like, it might be like minutes for them, but it is an hour for us, and we don't have a lot of opportunity left. So it is fine for you to feel like he's wasted, because he is. We aren't in reality right now. We are watching a spaceship, and it is fine to make it fun. But yeah, he is wasted. Great chat between him and Data at the end, but other than that, yeah, wasted. So Deanna, I just took issue with a lot of lines that people said this episode. Deanna is like with Riker, wiping his wound, and it's just like, stay still, I'm trying to keep it clean. With a dirty sleeve? Really? Just spat on her sleeve and is like trying to wipe an open wound.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it was indicated that Deanna was tortured, but she didn't seem very tortured to me.
Mentally. I think she was mentally tortured. But yes.
By being around Riker?
Yeah. Your turn.
So Data has this really great line at the end. What does he call Vadik? Let me see if I can find it because I think I wrote it down.
Oh,
monologuing protoplasm.
yes.
I mean, I don't know how I would go about sinning the monologuing.
Mm-hmm.
If we were going to sin the series, because we would have sinned it last time too. So maybe when we got to the end, we would just say, like, Data says it best, and then just, monologuing protoplasm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would have to sin her. Like, it was just so much, but we've already talked about it. So that was one of the
They hang a lantern on it, like, so many times. They know exactly what they're doing. So it just makes me wonder, do you think that makes it okay? Because if your characters are bored, imagine how we feel. Okay, so Jack decides to take control of one of the people. I'm not sure why he didn't try to take control of one of the changelings, like one of the minions. Because they have free movement around the bridge.
I'm going to sin that if he did that, it would reveal more of the mystery of who Jack is, because I'm assuming that as soon as he takes over a changeling, something's going to happen.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
I feel like, would that mean that they would then absorb the powers into their abilities? Like, would they evolve because they now have access to something? I think that's part of the great plan. And
that is the sin, because there's no reason he should know that. And
he shouldn't, and he should try to take over a bad guy and that has the weapons.
Because also it's way less risky, like, than taking control of a hostage who you are now putting at risk if they get caught non-consensually. I know we're going to go with the I'm Starfleet, so it's fine, but still, you are putting that person at risk. There's also the convenience of how did he know that person was standing in the right place as well. And it was convenient that they even were standing in the right place.
The only reason that could potentially make sense and be maybe a little bit argumentative is that we saw him free floating before he took over a body,
right.
I thought.
Yeah.
So
he
maybe
does do a
he can
float.
like free float and he's like, I choose you because you're by a console.
Yeah.
So maybe that was purposeful, but it certainly was convenient.
Yeah, that's fair. Your turn, Ambassador.
I was a little bit annoyed, a little bit, and this is just silliness, and it's just a Deneé thing. But like Riker and Troy, they're clearly in the part of their relationship that's like, I love you, but you annoy me. I'm still happy to be around you, but I definitely do things differently now, and I'm not there yet. I, as a fan, have not seen enough, but they've told me that they're on like they're on their bicker phase, but then seeing the bicker phase is like, okay, mom and dad are bickering and it's making me uncomfortable.
The old people are old and they're arguing.
Because he like sweetly calls her Mzadi and she's just like, you know what? I fucking should have never taught you that goddamn word, you piece of shit husband.
You use it too much.
She doesn't say it quite like that.
Marina Sirtis was saying that.
Yinturu or something?
Yeah.
And I didn't catch what that was. Did it mean baby?
Baby of enormous size, I think. Baby
so he's
of
like
great
being
size.
a big baby.
Yeah,
okay.
a big baby. Yeah.
Which, let's just be real. Maybe the sin here is that she would have never called him Yinturu in their entire relationship.
Yeah. That's just absolutely happened by now. Joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this one's argumentative or not, but something didn't sit right with how Shaw reacted to his crew getting killed. And
Shaw?
Yeah. So Seven jumps in and is like, you get your dirty hands off of them. And Shaw's just like, you can't do anything. Stop it. Am I being stupid? Am I being cliche for thinking that he would have stepped forward and said, take me first? Like, if you're going to shoot someone, me first, then the crew.
I think because of the chaoticness of Shaw, I'm not really sure what to expect with him as a captain. Because
exactly. So,
it does seem he's a bit wishy-washy, but I also don't know enough about him to go, does he... Because sometimes he's just like, I don't fucking care. You know what? The ship's blowing up. This is a good day for me because we're dying. Like when they were going down into the nebula, and he's like, well, looks like you fucked up my ship. I'm happy to go. This is the end. Peace.
I'm high on whatever the painkiller is.
He's clearly just like... concussed, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
From what I know about Starfleet captains, maybe I'm just too used to that. It's take me first. If anybody dies, it's me, then my crew. And maybe I just don't know Shaw's character enough. Maybe that's not him. It seemed off. It seemed odd to me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I wanted to air that out.
But I'm not sure how to. Yeah. Would we just jokingly sin the fact that Deanna was like totally trolling Riker about sleeping with a changeling? Or
yeah, but it made me laugh. It did make me laugh.
It did, because she said good in bed, bad at pizza, and he said just like me. And maybe the sin there is just things that you should never admit.
Yes.
I don't know if she actually did have sex with the changeling or not. It was a little bit up in the air on that one, but I kind of liked that it was casual.
She did quickly say, no, I knew who they were straight away. But it was a great line. I kind of wanted Riker to flip it. Just like, oh, so the exact opposite of me. That's how you could tell. Because I'm shit in bed, but good at pizza.
Yeah.
Here's a more dour one. This is linked to how I had a confusion with data, how they handled the data stuff in season 1 and how they're fixing it, remedying it in this season. My goodness, did they shit on Nepenthe? And that felt personal. Like shitting on how the house was built, the nature of it all, the wildlife, the pizza,
because you know what they say about a woodpecker, the thing that's worse than a one-headed a woodpecker, a two-headed woodpecker.
It felt really personal too. We hate everything about season 1, including that shitty planet. I loved Nepenthe. Nepenthe was one of the best episodes of the season. It felt so specifically personal to whoever came up with Nepenthe. It just felt a bit gross.
Yeah, I don't know what I didn't like about it, but at the same time, you do have situations where you're just doing something and you miss something else and you need to change. This is clearly them going, I really want to change. I want to get out of the hippie place and I want to go back into the city. And then you just know that they're going to turn into the old people that once they get to the city, they just want to go back to the hippie place. I want to go back
to the farm. Yeah, traffic in the city sucks.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's amazing. Sydney describes in great detail the one thing that we need to save the ship, which of course is the one thing we already have on the ship. Just ignorantly describing data and just like, yeah, cool. That's exactly what we need. Head turn. He's right there. We have him. We have him in engineering, and we have him in engineering. And it's a classic cliche of describing the one thing that we need and then smash cut to the thing that we need being there.
Yeah. I don't know how to send this exactly, but this episode had a lot of Picard and Beverly pulling Jack back from going to the bridge. And then quite suddenly they're like, well, we have data lore, so we're going to go do that. And while we do that, and he's like, I got a plan. And he kind of like just jumps out of the room. And then he has this orb that turns into something that he has a plan with later and can kind of coordinate.
Orb. Yeah.
Like and even Data Lore is like, now, Jack, like as if they had a conversation
about the plan. Yet.
So clearly there was a plan that was communicated to Picard and Beverly that they then gave to Data Lore. And we didn't see any of that, which I didn't like. But they go from... they being Beverly and Picard go from like, you cannot go to the bridge, you cannot do that, you can't give yourself up, to, you know what, we're going to flip on data lore, it's all going to be fine, so why don't you just go do whatever you want to do. And then he just like goes to the bridge, the one place that they've been really freaked out for him to go. So they have such confidence in their plan, and I don't know how I would go about that, but I thought that was like just one of those really convenient things where it's like, no, you can't do this. And they're trying to build this tension.
Of course.
But we've already got so much other tension that I'm in like tension overload. So I'm not feeling tension anymore. I'm just like, well, why are you letting him suddenly go do the thing that you said that you didn't want him to do? I don't know. That bothered me.
It kind of shits on Tavine dying as well, because there is no new information here. This is all information that they had from minute 1. They could have put these pieces together earlier and saved a life. And that's what stung for me a little bit. That's why I was like, there's no big change here that means you couldn't have arrived at this decision sooner. It's not like they didn't believe that Vadic was going to kill someone. It wasn't like they were calling her bluff. So that was tension building for the sake of tension building.
Yeah, and they've already been doing a lot of it, which too much stacked up on top of itself to me just sort of overloads.
Sure. So Geordie says Data's ethical subroutines don't allow him to take a life ever. That seemed way off base to me. We've seen him kill people. That seems so strange to me. We've seen that happen.
Wouldn't it be interesting if we had the ability to be like, oh, you mean so this doesn't count? And then like a flash of him doing it on another TNG show. And then, or this one, or this one, or this one. And it's just like going back through the catalog of how many times
that he's killed. He's fired phasers. Does that mean he's commanded a ship? Like, it's such a odd sentence that I was like, I must be missing something here for them to have written Geordie to say this. It's like, that's so off base. I get morally he doesn't kill people, but he has done that. I don't know. Yeah, it's it was very odd to me. Your turn.
Maybe like the part where Deanna and Riker are finally having their like come to conversation, and she's like, I forgot that you can't skip to the end of healing, and then they just hug, essentially skipping to the end of healing.
Yes.
I was like, wait, aren't you just wait?
It's like, wow,
is that what we're doing right now? We're just skipping to the end of the healing now.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know. I think it'd be kind of a fun thing to just be like,
man.
And now that we've hugged, everything is done.
That could be our new skip. They just hug. Like, we're done with the emotions now. Mm-hmm. This was really dumb. Worf, Riker, and Deneé. Worf, Riker, and Deanna.
There I am.
Let's
Woo!
go. Walk into the Shrike's engineering section or whatever it is. And Worf is like, Rafaela. And she says, it's still me. Don't worry.
I have that down
like,
too.
Oh, I
is
believe
that
you
all
then.
we need now?
Done.
It's still me.
Worf has
peace.
Worf has voice recognition. It's some bullshit. Don't even ask the question if that's going to be the answer you accept.
That's so weird. Like that was so weird. Like there's not even a moment where he asks her to solve something that only they would know.
Yep.
And if that is their, and the sin is, if that is their code, don't worry, it's me. That's the worst code.
The worst.
Ever.
Worst code ever.
Okay, so the code to tell me that you are who you say you are is this phrase, it's me.
Yep. I mean, how does Raffi know that the three of them aren't changelings? Anyway, that's the problem with shapeshifters.
I do have to say that at this moment I get to the part of my notes as I'm going through where I kind of wrote down Worf as he saw Deanna. Deanna, I have counted the days since I last saw you, like waves in the ocean, constant and unending. I have thought of your telepathic gifts often. And then he kind of has more that I didn't even get a chance to write down, but it was so funny. And Riker's look, and Deanna's like, no, keep going. And Riker's like, what? Because they have a really open relationship. Like Riker and Deanna they're like friends and they're lovers and they're together, but like they're still it was just such a funny scene. But I love that, like waves in the ocean, constant and unending. I just thought that was really, really funny. But I mean, maybe we try to send it just to be clever, but that's not actually a sin. I just wrote it down. I was at that part I wanted to share.
Worf is not serenading me in this scene.
That's the sin. Yeah. There you go.
What's the difference between being on the bridge and being hostages compared to being in the conference room and still being hostages? I was like, let them go. Okay, we will let them go to a different prison cell.
Where they can speak freely and come up with a plan, which is what they should have fucking been doing.
Yes, it makes sense on no front. They are no more free than if they were on the bridge. It doesn't make a dingleberry bit of sense.
It doesn't make a dingleberry bit of sense. Ding.
Ding.
Yeah, I'm at my notes now. We're still saying the same thing about Data lore. Data erases lore. The subroutines won't permit him to take a life. Blah, 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 blah. No backups. Okay, Data, buckle in and buckle up in there, buddy. And essentially, they're just torturing their friend. Essentially, they're just torturing their buddy. So we sent it last episode. I'd send it again. Blah.
Yeah. We talked about it earlier, but I would sin. All Lore needed was love.
All he needs is love. Actually, he didn't need love. He needed all of Data's memories. Yeah.
A little bit saccharine, but we did that. So instead, isn't it handy that none of the bad guys Raffi was fighting had a phaser?
Super handy. Super duper handy.
Super handy. We've seen them have guns in this episode.
The whole
Raffi's
time.
Just like, knifey, stabby, knifey. Why are you bringing knives to a phaser fight?
Yeah.
Don't bring a Metcalf to a phaser fight.
Maybe we could send that she's bringing the percussion sounds to the symphony of gunfire from the beginning. Obviously, they needed to have just no music. Because, at the beginning, Vatic is killing everyone to gunfire as if it's a music thing.
Yeah.
And now the guns are suddenly missing. And the only sound is the sound of hand-to-hand combat.
Ching. It was so jarring to me. I was like, I get that it's cool and Rule of Cool is always fun, but you gotta give me something here, guys. Like, gosh, he should be shot. Mm-hmm. I have one more. But feel free to continue.
Okay, go on.
Oh, my very last one is, why was the Shrike suddenly so easy to blow up? There are still people on that ship. It wasn't empty. The shields should still be up. There should be defensive capabilities on there. It was just like torpedoes away, and I get it, but it's that acceleration of go, 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 go. If we'd had one less monologue, a lot of these jarring moments would have been remedied, I think.
Yep, you're not wrong about that. There was something I was just going to say too that was like an yes and to that. So I'm going to try to think of it. Yeah, it was.
Was it?
Yeah, no, it was, because it's like fire everything we've got at them was in one of the episodes. It's just like, and they fire everything. They had like,
still no phases.
Little pew pew. And that's when it went through the portal, and then it ended up shooting their own butts. Remember? This time their is more of a and then it suddenly like super works.
Fire everything.
And I was confused. If that's firing everything in this episode, the only reason that they didn't do it in the first episode that this happened is because then it would have blown up their own ship.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Fire some phases. Like, I know they're expensive, but fire them. Yeah.
I didn't like that.
No.
That was bothersome to me.
I get that.
I would send Picard, who has very little to do in these episodes anymore, and it's making me sad, but I understand. Patrick Stewart, you're doing the thing that you got to do, man, and I respect you, and I respect your character, but it's still like we saw so little of him. Mm-hmm. And the most infuriating line potentially for me was after, like, when Lore is taking over Data and Picard says, there must be a way to stop it. And I'm like, LaForge has spent 2 episodes explaining that there is no way to stop it.
Yeah. Stop
and in fact, before doing this, we are going, there is no point of return. Mm-hmm. This is it. We could lose him forever. And Picard's like, thumbs up, do it. And then as soon as it starts, he's like, hold on a second. Is there another way? And I'm just like, dude,
you knew the risks.
That's a writer's issue. That's in the plot. That's not a character issue. Even though Picard is old, he's Gollum, brilliant. It's not something I can blame on anything other than like, what are we doing here? What is that line? You've given him so few fucking lines. And one of them is this wishy-washy, can you save Data thing? I was really pissed at that.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that,
I was
but
very
you're right.
angry.
Very little Picard in Picard.
That's a ding. Ding.
Ding.
Anything else?
I'm good. I think I've got everything. I think we've had a good discussion about that.
I have one more, I think. Vadic, who has been saying that she's going to be taking Jack to give to someone when he is in her presence, seems to want to have more, evil monologuing going on. And she's like, I can help you. I can help you put these pieces together. The choice is yours. And I'm like, the fuck conversation are we having right now? You should be scooping up Jack and beaming off of the ship.
What does it matter if he consents?
3 seconds and be done with it, because she has a higher being that she's answering to that she's terrified of. And suddenly she's like don't you want to know about the red door? Don't you want me to help you put the pieces together? You need to come with me willing. This is your choice, Jack. It's like, no, it's not.
I will be really mad if he ends up being a changeling, because he had several lines where he was like, I'm not a changeling. I know what I am. I'm not. And if that's a really obvious misdirect, like I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure there's something more to it, but it was very, 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 very insistent.
Yeah, that was upsetting.
Okay, do you want to do some predictions?
Yes, I think so.
Cool.
I'm ready.
With that, let's head to the Captain's Ready Room for some predictions. Welcome to the Captain's Ready Room, where we hear our predictions for the rest of the season and bask in our Q-like glory. If anything we've previously predicted has come true. We got the conference room. Prediction done. Tick off.
We had so much wrong. At the beginning of this episode, we're like, okay, so this is what's going to happen this episode. Like, basically none of what we said happened.
Hey, no, I said standoff in space. That's what happened. Standoff in space, the whole episode.
That shouldn't count.
It was the entire episode.
It was the entire episode, and it was also last episode.
Yeah. We also predicted that Vadic will kill somebody. Finally happened. A character we know.
A character that we know and love.
I'm taking these predictions. I'm taking it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what was the prediction that you noted earlier? Because I don't have a lot to add. I don't have really anything big to add that we haven't already said.
So if they're trying to kind of present that Jack has this ability to go into another body and exist, I'm wondering if they're going to have Picard go into another body. Because Picard would have the same abilities.
Not in the Gollum body.
But not in the Gollum body. Oh, that's right. Because the Gollum body doesn't have the thingy.
Doesn't have the aromatic syndrome thing. So that's got to be the key. Which means that Picard has been supernatural, super powerful, evolved all along?
All along.
That's interesting. There's got to be something in that. I mean, so there is a creature, apparently, that Deanna has said, and there's an ancient being that is locked inside Jack's mind.
Not locked inside. Outside.
Right.
Talking to.
Yeah. So is it the Parraves? It sounds more and more likely all of the time. Is it Cisco? And it's actually a good guy that is just trying to break out. There's something big coming through that door. They're dicks for not opening it, by the way. As if I'm not going to watch next week. As if the red door had been opened and I just went, yeah, I don't need to see the next 2 episodes. It's so cliffhangers, grrr. But yes, it sounds like they're going to go on a mission to Frontier Day, finally. Reunited, tons of information. And maybe Jack, they open the door, and I mean, the typical thing would be they open the door, Jack loses his willpower and goes and runs rampant on the ship.
Yeah.
And they lose control of the ship again.
Great.
I do wonder why Data isn't in the room with Deanna right now.
Why?
With a hand on Jack's neck.
Oh, just as a backup
plan? Just in case, just in case.
I mean, this should be.
Just in case. Yeah, just in case.
What if it's Agnes behind the door?
Okay, I'm confused. Agnes is in Jurati? Our Agnes?
Yeah.
I would love it. If it was the Borg, yeah, fine. But I think they're going to deliberately ignore anything that happened in season 2.
There's lots and lots and lots of talk in the chat about some stuff that I think that we've talked about in predictions before about the rates, the bad guys, the bad changeling power.
Yeah, the bad gods. Yeah.
Yeah, so I still think it's something to do with that, because after listening to you talk about it and the red eyes and the darkness, so knowing that it's not in Jack, but that it's like able to talk to Jack through his powers, maybe it's trying to use his powers to take over his body. So I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, he opens the door, the link is open in his mind to this external being that consumes his body and kind of uses his own powers as a reverse effect to take impact. So that's kind of what I think is going to happen. But I don't know.
Yep, I feel it. I would like it to be a good guy. That's my prediction. They're going to open the door.
No way.
And it's actually something positive.
Nope. I mean, I want to believe that, but based on what they've done the last few episodes, just browbeating us with tension and pain and sadness. It's like,
right.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, what a way to just sail into the happy ending of Picard, if nothing but trauma after emergency situation after emergency situation.
Oh my goodness. I mean, when they said that they took that part of his brain, I was waiting for them to say they took the part of his brain that still had Borg nano stuff in it. They said they took the part of the brain that had the disease in it. So maybe the Borg tried to cure his disease, and that created a mutated thing that has superpowers, and it became something extra.
I mean, but if it's a changeling who still doesn't like solids, aren't the Borg solids?
Yeah, but I mean, they still team up with solids. They still use them. They're not beyond using them. They use all of the Dominion and whatever. Okay, well, I think I wish we could just skip ahead and watch episode 9 and just see what's going on, but alas, we can't. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, Ambassador?
No, I don't have any final thoughts. I as always want to just say I do like what I'm watching.
Yes.
I find myself wishing different, but it's because I'm passionate about the characters. Watching this season reminds me a bit of if, for example, back in the days when Lord of the Rings was being created, if they had decided that they wanted to make a television series that involved Peter Jackson's version of Galadriel and Aragorn and our beloved hobbits and Gandalfs, I would be doing the same thing where I'm watching new content with these characters that I love and I'm wanting to manipulate it for my own desires. And I hope that maybe upon another watch, I will have different perspectives. But yeah, I appreciate you guys letting us share in the moment.
Yeah.
Our positives and our negatives and our gut reactions, because all in all, I'm loving season 3, especially
Yes.
compared to 2 and 1.
Yes. No, I agree. I'm on board. There is way more positives than negatives. And I think, episode 9 and 10 could be the little cherry on top. I really hope so. I really, really hope so. Okay, with that, thank you everybody for listening and downloading each week. We love you so much. Hey, you know what? You could give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts, but specifically on Apple because they still dominate the market. And right now, we're not in a position to change that. But if you give us a rating on Apple, we will try to change that.
What a promise to make.
I said try. I will promise to try.
Promise to try.
Like, are you going to be good today? I will promise to try to be good. But until then, leave us. Yes, do all of that things for us. That'll be amazing. If you want to join us live, you can join us on YouTube Live on the CSPN YouTube channel or on Twitch, 12:30 each Friday. Until then, thank you for joining us. I'm Ian, and I think that your tastes in wine are pedestrian at best.
And it's time for another demonstration of my impatience.
Live long and prosper.
Thanks for listening. Want to connect with the show? Our hailing frequencies are always open through captainspod@cinemasins.com. Like, comment, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Captain's log. I've been waiting in the lobby of StreamYard for the ambassador for what feels like an eternity. But really, it's been 4 minutes. Thankfully, the respirators give me time to perfect my Shatner impression. And by perfect, I mean do the same impression I always do. I went a little bit Elvis. No, never do, Captain Log. I don't know what that was. That was weird. I won't do that again. I probably will. So how are you, Internet? I guess it's still the Internet, even though I'm just talking to a screen. Ah, here she is. Yay! Now I don't look like a crazy person. Actually, I still will. I always wonder.
You do, because you're talking to yourself right now. Look at how reflective these glasses are.
They are so reflective.
It's so bad.
You don't realize how good anti-reflection technology is until you don't have it. That's wild.
I haven't had reflective glasses since I started getting glasses.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to do anything. Just give me glasses. I just want I changed my mind. No, I changed my mind though.
Like the deflectors, like we don't need deflector shields. What are we actually deflecting? Oh no, the meteors, the space bugs. The anti-reflection thing is so necessary. It's kind of bullshit that they make you pay for it. It should just be, hey, this happens.
Oh, here's the worst part. It's $600 to add it.
But I
had a 50% off coupon, so it would have been $300. And I was still like, you know what? I'm really trying to save money right now. So I'll just say no and just have regular glasses. But now they have like this thing that says you have a 30-day guarantee if you don't like it. So I'm going to call and be like, okay, listen.
Yes, come on.
I don't like it. What do I do? Do I spend $300 more so that for the next few years in between this prescription and my next prescription that I don't have a glare on my glasses?
I think it's yes. I think it's that cost of living. That cost of. I think that's worth it for the quality of life. That's the word I was thinking of. Tell me exactly how much money you wasted today.
Oh, does buying a birthday cake for Iris count?
No, that's not that's subjective because the amount you spent on it may be deemed as wasteful, but it's all relative. It all depends how much you love her. That's exactly how much you should spend on the cake. That's what I've heard as a person without children.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well,
so if you spend if you spend like $90, then that means you really, really love her. Anything below $90 probably means you don't care enough.
Okay, then we're good.
Cool. How much was the cake?
Over $90.
Oh,
I care for her.
Okay, cool. I was kidding, but that's fine. $90. What is the cake made of?
No, it really isn't. I just wanted you to think that I loved my child.
Frosting?
No, just cake.
For the
just
English
raw
fans,
cake.
icing.
In fact, it's just batter.
It's just batter. I'm not coming. You know how I feel about raw cake.
I thought you were going to say, you know how I feel about batter specifically.
Yes, batter. You know my
just
viewpoints on batter. We're not going to bring it up here. I will not come to your 6-year-old's birthday party because I will not be present where raw batter is there.
If you don't show up for the birthday party that Iris personally invited you to, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah. I love that she invited you, and I'm like, kid, how the fuck do you think this is happening if your mum isn't invited? I just love that logic. It's like, you
She's
can
like,
come
Mom,
too, Mum.
you're also invited to my party. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, good.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Can you hear the lawn care that is happening on the other side of this window?
So while you were not in the room, yes, I could. It was very
Just
loud. I was like, of
So
course,
loud.
this is the hour and a half period where they're going to be mowing. Of course it is. But fortunately, it is not. It is not currently audible. Bear with me. I have to go and get some chocolate.
I'm sorry? I mean, are we leaving? Is that what we're doing right now? Should I go get coffee? Like, I brewed some... Hi, everybody. Welcome to my version of Captain's Pod, where we're going to talk about Star Trek. Of course, we're going to talk about Star Trek. That's what we do on the show. But more importantly, here's just your PSA, a reminder of sorts, that the anti-glare for your glasses really is valuable. You want to see something random? Okay. Here's a pen I was given once. How awkward is this? Just writing with a...
Ugh.
Wonder what Ian's going to think when he gets back. He's going to... Just take your time, Ian. Just take your time.
Why are you showing me a dildo? The hell is that?
God damn it.
Okay. Because this is what we do on live shows. We eat things. So we have some Earl Grey chocolate.
Oh, I want some.
Lovingly donated by JCD. We also have some lovely New Mexican chilies donated by Link. Now, we're going to consume
a
some.
chili. Do it.
I'm going to do the chocolate first.
Chili. No, you start with the chili. You ruin your tongue, then you go to the chocolate.
Okay, here we go. Chili.
Go on. You know what? We're just going to... Well, let's just make this really awkward.
I was playing
This is
it
my
up,
favorite.
but it's not really.
This is my favorite. Just watching someone struggle to open a jar is the best show we could possibly put together for you guys.
I was
Yes, you
joking,
can.
but I actually
Yes,
can't.
you can. You can. You've got the grip strength of like a superhero. you got it. Did you take off the plastic?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I think it needs to go on something.
Well, yeah, probably in
Oh
something.
no, that's the medium jar. I didn't get the hot one. I'd been way funnier if I'd done the hot one. Okay, there's a little bit of burn in the back of the throat. Okay, I can get that now. I can feel that. Okay, the medium one, not very spicy. I'm not going to go and get the hot one. Okay. I give that a 4 out of 19. No, I don't actually. It's better than that. 17 out of 19.
I'm with you, Zink. I mean, I'm
It's
just
such
like
an anticlimax. Like, it
think
wasn't
about.
spicy
You know
at all.
what? You know what? I'm just gonna go get some coffee.
Oh, this is going to be gross. I don't want to do this. Okay, here we go. Here we go, everyone. I really don't want to do this. Oh, that's the worst. That's terrible. Is it? Oh. Okay. I'm not bad. That's not too bad. The chocolate completely overpowers the chili. Okay, I just put the chocolate with the chili, both at the same time. Deneé. And it was a bit anticlimactic again because it was...
What is happening?
It was still not spicy, and the chocolate just overpowered the chili. But yeah, okay. I'm glad we did that.
Personally, I'm okay with changing the format of our show.
To just doing this.
Yeah, but I'm gonna need to plan ahead for having my own crunchies.
Food to eat as well.
Yeah, just there are entire YouTube channels that mukbang. Let's just join them.
Okay, should we actually do a show?
Asks the man who's just eating his snacks.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what? You know what? I don't
no.
think so. I think we're just not gonna do the show today.
There's a whole story inside the wrapper.
That you've ripped apart.
I just ripped it open. They should tell you that shit before you I'm gonna silence my phone.
So, quick question: did
Yes.
they tell you that on the front of the wrapper, but you just didn't actually read the wrapper?
I mean, I haven't read that yet.
So maybe you should read that before you're like, they should do this. Because maybe they did do that and you just
Okay.
weren't listening or reading, I mean.
I wasn't listening to the chocolate bar. Earl Grey, unroasted dark chocolate. Before ripping package, read our story on the inside. No, it doesn't. It doesn't say that. Notes of raw honey from Ugandan cacao. They put cow in this? Ha ha. Earl Grey layers of black tea and bergamot like an orange dreamsicle. A dash of vanilla bean adds a round floral finish. It doesn't. It tastes like dark chocolate.
It tastes like dark chocolate after you've had green chili.
We can't confirm that both aren't true.
All right, I'm coming over. I'm just
Okay.
gonna leave this house. I'll be over at your place in like give me
And
10
then
minutes.
with a fresh
I'll
mouth.
walk down the floor, down to the studio floor.
Yeah.
I'll just walk onto your frame, grab the chocolate, leave, come back here. 10 minutes later,
Oh, okay.
in my space,
I'll just vamp.
I'll eat the chocolate.
That's fine. It doesn't say anything about that. Ingredients: organic cacao beans, organic cane sugar, organic cacao butter, organic vanilla. But you have to put organic in front of everything. Everything is organic. Stop calling things organic. It doesn't make a difference. It just means you can charge more for it. That's my old man rant. That organic thing is the biggest crock of shit. Anyway, right, get off my lawn. I was meant to say this absolutely ages ago. You remember when the Titan has like the Intrepid. Ro has flown the shuttle pod into the nacelle of the Intrepid, and
Yes.
it's like it's pissed off, and it does that raise up thing where it kind of levels off with the Titan. And we said
Yes.
how cool it was when it raises up. It's like now I'm mad. Terry was talking about that on Terry Metalis was talking about that on Twitter, and because everyone was like, that shot is freaking awesome. And he said he specifically thought of it as a D&D thing and a dragon squaring off against an opponent that's just attacked it. And that's perfect. It looks like a dragon, like just kind of resetting its head
You
and
did.
then getting ready to attack. It's like, yes, you fucking nerd. I love you. Nerd.
Polly says this: changelings can exist in open space. We saw it happen in Deep Space Nine. So Vatic going out like that was bullshit.
Interesting. Yeah, but she's more fleshy.
Oh, they're evolved.
They're more fleshy. There was another scene where it takes longer than that to die as well, but they're made of different polymers. So I don't know. Who knows? That wasn't the most egregious thing I found, but I can understand them dying in space.
This was fun from Sarah earlier in the show that I really enjoyed. Sarah says, here's a fun thing. The Titan crew hasn't had a bite of food since Shaw was stabbing that space steak that they did.
Oh, I have an answer for this. They're just beaming food into their bellies. The computer just randomly beams food into everyone at intervals.
Link asks, can you block Betazoid from reading your mind?
Certain species can, but not many. Like the Ferengi. Depending on the episode, you can't read their mind.
Here's a prediction from JCD. Random prediction that popped into my head. They find Harry Kim, and he somehow is the one person who the changelings aren't impersonating.
That would be on brand for Harry, wouldn't it? The one character that gets ignored.
Lloyd thinks that because Vatic smiled at Shaw, he's a changeling. It would explain Shaw's behavior.
It would explain a lot. It would. I don't like it. Don't you do that to my Shaw. Don't you do it. I can see Deneé doing it. Don't you manifest this.
At some point, it's totally possible because it means that the Shaw that came up in the lift was not our Shaw.
Oh, interesting. You think it was that soon? Possible.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, there could still be a changeling on board. Yeah. He's stuffed into a
No,
cabinet
that's not a bad
somewhere.
prediction at all, Lloydie.
No, it's good.
Happy birthday coming up to you, Sarah.
Happy birthday,
Birthday's on
Sarah.
Tuesday. And while I'm not excited about being so old, I do take the day off and stay home to watch 4 Star Trek movies every year. And I'm very excited.
The question is, which 4?
Happy birthday to you.
Which 4 episodes are you going to watch?
Happy birthday to you.
Would you like some
Happy
Earl Grey chocolate?
birthday to Sarah Superior.
You'll have to come to Missouri.
Happy birthday to you.
Get it?
I only was going to continue singing whenever it interrupted Ian.
That's par for the course.
By the way, she's watching the whale one and the 3 Kelvins because I like to be happy.
Nice. Good answer.
Star Trek trivia. What 2 actors have been in all 3 Seinfeld, Star Trek, and the Orville?
Now,
Well, let's give some time for the chat to respond because there's a delay.
fine. Ah.
Are we just not? You're just eating?
No, I thought we were waiting.
Wow. You were eating before we were waiting. We're such an old married couple.
Yes, we are.
Get off my lawn.
Ah,
Quit.
you big baby.
Okay, so Jeffrey Combs is both answers, says Josh Zero.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs has definitely been in all 3. Brent Spiner has been in Seinfeld and Star Trek.
Rando Dave says Jason Alexander.
I don't know who that is.
And Nick says, is it Brian George?
Brian? I don't know who that is. It's going to be an extra. Oh, Brian George. I think he plays... Does he play Worf's? Yeah, he plays Worf's dad. That's a great answer. Yeah, that's a great answer if true. Because he's definitely been in... He was in the season premiere of The Orville, and he's definitely been in Star Trek. I don't know about Seinfeld. Catherine Kate Mulgrew has been in Seinfeld and Star Trek. I don't think she's been in the Orville. Marina Sirtis has been in Marina Sirtis, hasn't she been in Seinfeld?
I'm going to play some music because I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to play one called Feeding the Ducks.
Nice. 2 actors. I'll go with Jeffrey Combs and the other guy that they just said, Brian George.
Jason Alexander and Brian George is the answer.
Yay, I was right.
Hey,
I didn't guess
look at
either of
that.
them. I wasn't right at all.
No. I think my biggest sin of the episode is that it seems to exist to retcon everything addressed in season 1, and I didn't like season 1 either, but it's now a huge waste of time.
It hurts. It really hurts how much they're pooping on it. I don't like it. It feels gross. Right. Right. Cool.
You have no fucking clue what's going on.
I'm
and
reading the
someday,
comments.
someone's going to take over your job, and it's going to be me, and then it's going to be me not having a clue, and then you're going to take over, and it's just going to be the great cycle of life.
Amazing cycle of life. The circle of life. This is the part of the show where we re-engage ourselves. Oh, why every week
Why?
you're on freaking autopilot?
Why?
So, with that, let's head over to... Well, oh, gosh dang nabbit.
Gosh dang nabbit. Hey, language, sir.
Language.
We
Okay.
are a G-rated show.
We are not. This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV is shit.
Wow. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we re-engage... No.
My turn. Welcome to the Captain's Ready Room, where
Where we are.
Hello. And yeah, until then, I believe that you're damn it.
It's okay. We got time. You've
We
got
do.
so
I can
much
redo
editing to
that.
do on this episode.
So much editing.